Nobody is coming to save you. Read that again. Nobody is coming to save you. Not your family, not your friends, not some miracle phone call, not some lucky break that falls out of the sky and lands in your lap while you sleep. The grind you are avoiding right now is the exact same grind standing between you and the life you keep dreaming about at 2 in the morning. And until you accept that truth, you will keep waiting for permission that will never come, for rescue that will never arrive, for a shortcut that does not exist. Let me ask you something. How long are you going to wait for life to feel fair before you finally decide to work anyway? How long are you going to wait for motivation to show up before you realize discipline was always the answer? Because here's the truth. Nobody wants to say out loud, you do not need motivation, you need a decision. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change with the weather. Decisions are commitments, and commitments do not care how you feel on a Tuesday morning when the alarm goes off and your body begs you to stay in bed. The grind is not glamorous. Nobody claps for you when you wake up before sunrise. Nobody notices when you skip the party to finish the work. Nobody sees the hours you spend sharpening a skill that is not paid off yet. The grind happens in silence, in rooms nobody enters, in moments nobody records. And that is exactly why most people quit. They wanted the reward without the invisible work. They wanted the harvest without ever planting the seed. Think about the people you admire, the ones who built empires, who changed industries, who turned nothing into something extraordinary. You are only seeing the final chapter of their story. You did not see the rejections. You did not see the failed attempts. You did not see the nights they questioned everything, the mornings they wanted to give up, the years they worked without recognition. You are watching the highlight reel of someone else's grind and comparing it to the behind the scenes of your own struggle. That comparison will destroy you if you let it. Here is what separates the people who make it from the people who talk about making it. The people who make it grind when it is boring. They grind when there is no applause. They grind when the results are invisible. They grind on the days when quitting would be easy and nobody would even question it. That is the difference. Not talent, not luck, not connections. Consistency during the moments when nobody is watching. You have to understand something about how success actually works. It is not one giant explosive moment. It is not a single lucky break that changes everything overnight. Success is built the same way a wall is built, brick by brick, day by day, decision by decision. Every early morning is a brick. Every skipped distraction is a brick. Every hour of focused work is a brick. And one day, after enough bricks have been laid, people will look at your life and call you lucky. They will call it an overnight success, but you will know the truth. You will know about the years nobody saw. You will know about the grind that built the foundation before anyone noticed the building. The grind demands something most people are not willing to give. It demands your comfort. It demands your convenience. It demands the version of you that wants to relax when you should be working. The version of you that wants to scroll when you should be studying. The version of you that wants to make excuses when you should be making progress. The grind takes all of that and asks you to trade it for something greater. And that trade is not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be successful. If it was easy, everyone would have the body they want, the business they dream of, the life they imagine. But it is not easy. It was never supposed to be easy, because if it was easy, it would not be valuable. Understand this. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. That is the entire game. Everyone wants the result. Very few people want the process that creates the result. You want the success, but do you want the early mornings? You want the freedom, but do you want the sacrifice? You want the respect, but do you want the years of being unseen, unheard, and underestimated while you build it? The grind is the price, and everyone wants the prize, but almost nobody wants to pay the price. Let me tell you something about pain. There are two kinds of pain in this life. There is the pain of discipline, and there is the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Waking up early to work on your goals feels heavy in the moment, but it is nothing compared to the weight of looking back at your life in 10 years and realizing you wasted your potential because comfort felt easier than growth. You will pay one of these two prices. There is no version of your life where you pay neither. The question is, which pain are you willing to carry? Choose the pain of discipline now or carry the pain of regret forever. The grind is not about being busy. It is not about looking productive. It is not about posting your hustle for everyone to see. The real grind is quiet. The real grind is internal. It is the decision you make when nobody's filming you, when nobody's impressed, when there is no audience to perform for. It is choosing the harder right over the easier wrong, again and again, until that choice becomes who you are, instead of something you have to force yourself to do. You need to understand that the grind will test your identity before it rewards your effort. It will strip away every excuse you have been hiding behind. It will show you exactly how bad you want it, because talk is cheap and everyone can talk about their dreams. Everyone can post a quote about hustle. Everyone can say they are going to change their life starting Monday. But the grind does not care about your words. The grind only responds to your actions. and your actions today are a direct reflection of how serious you actually are. Think about the seasons of a farmer. A farmer does not plant a seed and harvest it the same day. A farmer plants, waters, protects, and waits through seasons that offer no visible reward. There are days of sun and days of storm, and the farmer shows up regardless. That is the grind. Showing up regardless of the weather, showing up regardless of how you feel, showing up regardless of whether anyone is clapping, because the harvest does not ask how you felt during the planting season. The harvest only asks if you planted at all. Most people give up during the planting season. They want to see the fruit before they have even finished putting in the roots. They study for 2 weeks and expect mastery. They work out for a month and expect a transformation. They start a business for 3 months and expect financial freedom. And when the results do not appear on their timeline, they convince themselves it is not working, that they are not cut out for it, that maybe this dream was never meant for them. But the truth is far simpler. They quit during the exact season where the results were being built underground, out of sight, where roots grow before anything visible appears above the surface. If you want a life that most people will never have, you have to be willing to do what most people are never willing to do. That means working when others are resting. That means learning when others are entertaining themselves. That means investing in your future while others are spending their present on things that will not matter in 5 years. This is not about judging anyone else's choices. This is about understanding that extraordinary results require extraordinary commitment. And commitment is measured by what you are willing to sacrifice, not by what you are willing to say. You have to grind even when you do not feel like it, especially when you do not feel like it, because feelings are unreliable narrators. Feelings will tell you to quit on the days you are closest to a breakthrough. Feelings will convince you that today is the day to finally rest, right before the moment where consistency would have changed everything. You cannot build a life around how you feel in a given moment, because your feelings change 10 times a day, but your goals do not change just because your mood did. There is a kind of person who becomes addicted to the grind, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they understand what the grind is building inside them. Every hard morning builds mental toughness. Every uncomfortable conversation builds confidence. Every rejection builds resilience. Every failure, if you let it, builds wisdom. The grind is not just building your external results, it is building the internal architecture of who you are becoming. And that internal transformation is worth more than any single achievement, because that transformation is what allows you to handle everything life throws at you after you reach the goal. Here is something people rarely admit. Reaching a goal does not fix you. If you're not disciplined enough to grind toward a goal with the right mindset, reaching that goal will not magically create peace inside you. Money does not fix an undisciplined mind. Success does not fix a person who never learned how to sit with discomfort. That is why so many people reach the destination they always wanted and still feel empty, because they thought the destination was the point, when the entire time the grind itself was building the person capable of enjoying and sustaining that destination. So do not resent the grind. Do not curse the difficult season you are in right now. Respect it, because that season is doing something for you that comfort never could. Comfort does not build character. Struggle builds character if you let it shape you instead of break you. The version of you that exists on the other side of this grind, the disciplined version, the focused version, the version who no longer needs external validation to keep moving forward, that version is worth every early morning, every sacrifice, every moment you had to choose growth over comfort. Let me talk to you about excuses for a moment, because excuses are the quiet killers of potential. Excuses feel comforting in the moment. They protect your ego. They let you avoid the responsibility of admitting that you have not done enough. But excuses do not pay bills. Excuses do not build skills. Excuses do not show up to work when you are not looking. The only thing an excuse does is buy you temporary comfort while stealing your long-term potential. Every time you choose an excuse over effort, you are voting for the same life you already have. If you want a different life, you need different votes. And those votes are cast through actions, not explanations. I want you to think about time for a second. Time is the only resource you cannot get back. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose opportunities and find new ones, but you cannot lose time and reclaim it. Every single day you delay the grind is a day you will never get back. And the tragedy is not that people run out of time. The tragedy is that people spend their time on distractions and only realize how much they wasted when it is far too late to change course. Do not let that be your story. Do not let comfort steal years from a future you claim you want. The grind requires you to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. It requires you to sit in the tension between where you are and where you want to be without collapsing into either despair or complacency. Despair says, nothing will ever change, so why try? Complacency says things are fine enough, so why push further? Both are traps. The grind lives in the space between those two lies, and the honest acknowledgement that you are not where you want to be yet, paired with the relentless commitment to close that gap one day at a time. You need to stop waiting for the perfect conditions to start. There will never be a perfect time. There will never be a moment where every circumstance aligns and every obstacle disappears. The people who succeed are not the people who waited for ideal conditions. They are the people who started in imperfect conditions and adjusted along the way. They started tired, they started unqualified, they started scared, they started without enough money, without enough experience, without enough certainty, and they grinded anyway because they understood that clarity comes from action, not from waiting. Consider how many people you know who have incredible potential, but nothing to show for it. Potential without action is worthless. Potential is not an achievement. Potential is simply a possibility, and possibilities do not change your life. Only decisions change your life. Only consistent action changes your life. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you do not grind, that talent will sit inside you unused, and one day you will look back and wonder what could have happened if you had actually tried. The grind also teaches you something valuable about patience. In a world obsessed with instant results, patience has become a rare skill. Everyone wants the fast version of success. Everyone wants the shortcut, the hack, the secret formula that skips the years of struggle. But the people who last, the people who build something real, understand that patience is not passive waiting. Patience is active persistence. It is continuing to put in the work even when the timeline is unclear, even when the results are delayed, even when everyone around you seems to be moving faster. Do not measure your journey by someone else's timeline. Comparison will rob you of your motivation faster than almost anything else. Someone else's grind looks different from yours because their circumstances are different. Their starting point is different. Their obstacles are different. Stop watching everyone else's race and focus on running your own. The only comparison that matters is who you were yesterday versus who you are becoming today. Are you improving? Are you showing up? Are you closing the gap between your potential and your effort? That is the only scoreboard that matters. There will be moments in your grind where you feel like giving up completely, moments where the effort feels too heavy and the results feel too far away. In those moments, remember why you started. Remember the version of yourself that decided enough was enough. The version that got tired of watching life happen to them instead of creating the life they wanted. That version of you made a promise, and every time you consider quitting, you are considering breaking a promise to the person you were when you were most determined. Grinding is not about being perfect every single day. You will have off days. You will have days where your energy is low and your motivation disappears entirely. That is normal. That is human. The goal is not perfection. The goal is not missing 2 days in a row. The goal is getting back up faster than you fall down. Consistency does not mean flawless execution every single day. Consistency means returning to the work again and again, even after setbacks, even after mistakes, even after days that felt like complete failures. I want you to internalize something powerful. Your current struggle is not a punishment. It is preparation. Every difficult season you are walking through right now is preparing you for a level of your life you cannot even see yet. The version of you standing on the other side of this grind will look back at this exact moment and understand why it had to be this hard. Because ease does not create strength. Resistance creates strength. Just like muscles grow through resistance training, your character grows through the resistance of hard seasons, difficult choices, and uncomfortable growth. Stop asking why this is happening to you and start asking what this is building inside you. That single shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of seeing obstacles as punishment, you start seeing them as training. Instead of seeing difficulty as unfair, you start seeing it as necessary. And once you adopt that mindset, the grind stops feeling like something happening to you and starts feeling like something you are actively choosing. Because you understand exactly what it is producing in your life. Look at your habits right now, today, this very moment. Your habits are quietly writing the story of your future, whether you are paying attention or not. Every scroll session you choose over reading, every snooze button you press instead of getting up, every excuse you make instead of showing up, these are not neutral choices. They are votes for a future you may not actually want. And on the other side, every early wake up, every hard workout, every hour spent building a skill, every difficult conversation you have instead of avoiding it. These are votes for the future you claim to want. Your life right now is simply the sum of all your previous votes. This is why the grind matters more than any single moment of inspiration. Inspiration fades. It always does. You can watch 100 motivational videos and feel fired up for 20 minutes, but that fire disappears the moment life gets difficult again. What replaces inspiration is discipline. The ability to act correctly, even when you feel nothing at all. Discipline does not ask how you feel. Discipline asks what needs to be done, and then it gets done regardless of your emotional state that day. let me remind you of something important. Nobody achieves anything meaningful by accident. Every disciplined person you admire built that discipline through repetition, through failure, through starting over, more times than they can count. They were not born with unstoppable willpower. They built it the same way you build muscle, through resistance, through repetition, through choosing the harder path enough times that it eventually became their natural response. You are not behind. You are simply early in your own process of building that same strength. There is a certain freedom that comes from fully committing to the grind. Once you stop negotiating with yourself every single day about whether you will show up, life becomes simpler. The decision has already been made. You are not deciding each morning whether to work toward your goals. You already decided. Now you are simply executing. That mental shift removes an enormous amount of resistance, because most of the exhaustion people feel does not come from the actual work. It comes from the constant internal argument about whether to do the work at all. Understand that the grind is not forever in its hardest form. The early stages of any transformation are always the most difficult because you are building new patterns while your old identity resists the change. But as you continue, the grind evolves. It becomes part of who you are instead of something you have to force. The habits that once required immense willpower start to feel automatic. The early mornings that once felt brutal start to feel normal. This is the compound effect of consistency, and it is available to absolutely anyone willing to endure the uncomfortable beginning. You need to protect your grind from the people around you who do not understand it. Not everyone will support your transformation. Some people are comfortable with the version of you that stayed the same because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. You do not need to argue with them. You do not need to convince them. You simply need to keep grinding quietly, consistently, until your results speak a language that no explanation ever could. Let your progress be the proof. Let your results silence the doubt that words never could. There is something powerful about becoming the type of person who does not need external permission to work hard. You do not need someone to believe in you before you start. You do not need a cheering crowd before you take the first step. You do not need validation to justify your discipline. The strongest version of you moves forward, regardless of who is watching, regardless of who believes, regardless of whether anyone claps. That independence from external approval is one of the most liberating things you will ever develop, because it means your effort is no longer controlled by anyone else's opinion. At some point, you have to decide what kind of life you actually want, and then you have to decide if you are willing to become the person capable of creating that life. Wanting is easy. Everyone wants more. Everyone wants a better body, a better income, a better relationship with themselves, a better future. But wanting without grinding is just daydreaming, and daydreaming does not build anything real. The gap between the people who dream and the people who achieve is the grind. It is the willingness to trade comfort for growth, entertainment for education, excuses for effort, day after day, until the results finally catch up to the work. So here is your reminder today. You have to grind. Not because grinding is glamorous, not because it feels good every single day, not because anyone is watching or clapping or cheering you on. You have to grind because the life you want lives on the other side of the effort you keep avoiding. You have to grind because your future self is depending on the decisions your present self makes right now. You have to grind because comfort has never built anything worth remembering. And because the version of you capable of the life you dream about is built through discipline, not luck. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for permission from people who are not even living your life. The grind is calling you, and every single day you delay is a day you are choosing to remain exactly where you are. You were not made to stay small. You were not made to settle for average. You were made to push, to build, to struggle, to grow, and eventually to look back at everything you overcame and understand that it was never about luck at all. It was always about the grind, the quiet, consistent, unglamorous grind that nobody sees until the results become impossible to ignore. So get up, do the work, show up on the hard days, show up on the boring days, show up on the days when nobody is watching and nobody would even notice if you quit. Because that is exactly where your future is being decided. In the small, invisible moments where you choose discipline over comfort. You have to grind because the life you want is not going to build itself, and the only person who can build it is you.